What's that? Emily Dickinson using something beautiful and serene to lull you to sleep while she explains something which is very, very dark? It can't be, except that it is. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Andrew Ford, and we are here for another video, another poetry discussion, which will appear in 3 separate playlists here on the channel. Number 1 being the poetry discussion playlist, now careening towards 600 videos strong. Number 2, the Emily Dickinson playlist, a playlist of videos dedicated to the greatest poet of all time. And number 3 being the Reading in a Winter Wonderland playlist, a playlist of videos in December 2024 dedicated to the cold, to snow, to winter, to ice, etc., and how those things manifest themselves in literature. Today's poem is known as It Sifts from Leaden Sieves, and it reads as such. It sifts from leaden sieves, it powders all the wood, it fills with alabaster wool the wrinkles of the road. It makes an even face of mountain and of plain, unbroken forehead from the east unto the east again. It reaches to the fence, it wraps it rail by rail, till it is lost in fleeces, it deals celestial veil. To stump and stack and stern and stem, a summer's empty room, acres of joints where harvests were, recordless but for them. It ruffles wrists of posts as ankles of a queen, then stills its artisans like ghosts, denying they have been. What should stand out, in my opinion, from this first read-through, besides my obvious flubs, is that this final stanza is kind of strange. It ruffles wrists of posts as ankles of a queen. Why are we mentioning queens in this stanza where we've had no mention of anything like this? Then it's artisans. Where do artisans come from? Like ghosts. Now we're channeling the paranormal, denying they have been. How do we get here, especially when we come from here? It sifts from leaden sieves, it powders all the wood, it fills with alabaster wool the wrinkles of the road. We get here from a stanza which is describing snow. We get to ghosts from a stanza describing snow. We get to artisans and creative block from describing snow. Snow, very beautiful. Snow often used in paintings to make things look festive, make things look beautiful, make things look natural. How do we get there from here? Well, one of the alluring things, in my opinion, about Emily Dickinson is that she has some of the greatest opening lines in all of literature, some of the greatest opening couplets in all of literature, though those are more rare than the opening lines, and oftentimes even some of the most stunning opening stanzas in all of literature, though those are more rare than the couplets and opening lines. Here, we start, just to get this off the table, sometimes part of the allure of those opening lines is the creative language that Emily Dickinson uses. This phrase, leaden sieves, is very pleasing, I think, to the ear, to the eye, to the idea, right? But it's just so leaden is heavy, unwieldy. It is basically as if something were made from lead. Sieves is another word for like a strainer. So snow, sifts, powders down from heavy straining from the clouds, which are described as leaden strainers. Okay, so we get that. It powders all the wood. So let's just take a step back here. Everything that's described in this poem is kind of halting. The snow is halting, which, yeah, sure, true, but it's not often described that way in literature. The praise of poetry The praise of prose very seldom casts Snow as the bad guy. But in this poem, I think we are led to believe that we are led to associate the snow metaphorically as maybe sadness, maybe depression, maybe any number of things. So let's just kind of go line by line here. It sifts from leaden sieves. The snow comes from these big, heavy clouds. You've seen snow clouds. It powders all the wood. Well, what is wood? So hold on. One more on that opening line. It sifts from leaden sieves. It comes from dark, heavy thoughts. If we're going full metaphor translation here, this thing, this sort of halting thing, this thing that stops us, comes from dark clouds. It comes from dark, heavy thoughts. It powders all the wood. What is wood? Wood is used for building. Wood is used for heat. Ironically, it is the snow and that type of weather which requires the heating. So this thought process, this feeling, this emotion, this halting thing requires a fix. But wood being used for building is wood being used to create, is wood being used to foster, is wood being used to build, is wood being used to further society, civilization, the personal expanse, right? It fills with alabaster wool the wrinkles of the road. So it smooths out the road, and not in a useful way. That snow is very hard to traverse. What are the roads? The roads are how we get anywhere. So it makes being warm and comfortable more difficult. It makes building near impossible. And it makes getting anywhere near impossible. Now we're getting into claustrophobic type of territory. It makes an even face of mountain and of plain. Even the intricacies of a mountain face are not. Even the vast expanse of a plain seems smaller. There is no start, there is no finish, there only is. That is how plains look covered with snow. You lose the perception of depth. These thoughts, this emotional state, this halting thing which falls over us, the snow, the depression, makes even the mountains and the plains. It erases both of them from our context as humans. Unbroken forehead from the east unto the east again. There are not even horizons in this state. During this thing, there is nothing from top to bottom, side to side, which is recognizable to us. It reaches to the fence, it wraps it rail by rail, till it is lost in fleeces. It deals celestial veil. What is a fence? A fence marks, denotes, designates what is ours. That fence keeps in our, keeps out other. That fence is our space. This thing which is falling from leaden sieves, sifted from leaden sieves, erases our own personal boundaries, makes what it is that we define as us diminished, makes what it is that we define as us muted. To stump and stack and stem a summer's empty room, acres of joints where harvests were, recordless but for them. These things which were warm, these things which were summer, in fact, these things which were summer's empty room, they're cold now. There's no use for them. These places where acres of joints, where harvests were, all of this food, all of this usefulness, all of this industry, gone, covered, blanketed, muted. Then we get to this final paragraph. It ruffles wrists of posts as ankles of a queen, then stills its artisans like ghosts, denying they have been. This is a stanza which, under this guise, I think makes much more sense than an initial read. By trying to find out what it is our poet is speaking, why mention queens? Why mention it ruffles the wrists of posts as ankles of a queen? Well, first off, no one gets out of this. No one is left unaffected by the snow. No one is left unaffected by these thoughts. It ruffles wrists of posts, however, as ankles of a queen. We're comparing a queen, the high and mighty, to a post. This may seem to be bringing the post up to the level of a queen, but can't this also be read as it is bringing the queen down to the level of an inanimate object? Can't it also be read that this is bringing the queen down to the level of something which is blanketed and muted? Can't it also be read that this is taking a queen and making her still? Then stills its artisans like ghosts. Then stills the fine laborers like ghosts, like something which is already gone, something which can no longer make a difference. That fine craftsmanship on your front door, that fine craftsmanship that you have on your front porch, or your, today we would say car, right? We would have cars to traverse those roads which are now muted. The fine craftsmanship that goes into that. The snow denies, doesn't just cover it, doesn't just blanket it. It denies that it has ever been. It takes that thing and says, this is just a memory. We don't know if it ever happened. Has anyone ever done fine work before? We don't know. There's snow all over. To make the thing which is, so beavers build, ants build, birds build, lots of things construct a home. Is it only humans who take the fine craftsmanship to those things? Meaning that artisans are a human occupation. Lots of things in the animal kingdom build. Not everything pays particular attention to how that building looks. The snow, these heavy thoughts, sifted from leaden sieves, take that idea of saying, hey, we're human. We're going to care how it looks. We're going to care about the artistry to this. We're going to care about the aesthetics. These heavy thoughts take that and say, good luck. In fact, in the midst of this, you won't even remember such a thing looked good. It won't even register to you. It won't make any sense. It will be something that is dead. So yeah, I think that probably there are 1,000 ways to interpret this poem. There are 1,000 different readings that you can take to a poem like this. Many of them would be positive, would be joyful, would be, oh, it's dressing the post up as if it were a queen, and not it's taking the queen down to the level of an inanimate object. I don't think those readings are quite so accurate. I think that this reading, this idea that that which sifts from leaden sieves is not pleasant is readily available in this poem. That's all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel. There are multiple videos every week, poetry to be found every Monday. There is a playlist of Emily Dickinson and of poetry on your screen now, and I hope to have you back for the next one.